but it is a homeschool office.
Okay, everybody, this is a homeschool house call. We are with Helen today. We're talking about all sorts of stuff, but we actually started the conversation before I started recording, so we're going to back up a little bit. And Helen, it was, I get, you just called it a COVID baptized homeschooler is what you call it. It was a great word.
Yeah, I've been saying we're COVID or pandemic baptized homeschoolers.
Yeah,
Like
so,
we got thrown into the fire at that time.
and there's a lot of moms like that who have decided to homeschool after the pandemic started. So that's not unusual. But tell us a little bit about your job so that mama's kind of she works from home. So it's this is she was working from home before the pandemic, so that was not new. But now having the kids in the mix is they just haven't found their groove yet.
Yeah, so I am a data analyst and product manager, success director in automotive. And I work with a team of people all over the United States, but based out of Ohio. And I work with car dealers. And so I was telling Devin here that, they're all pretty cool with the kids and, kind of being in the background or whatever, but I don't let them normally. It's usually like, you'll see my arm reach over here and it's like, there's there's something
They're
going on
putting a
with my hand.
boundary.
I'm like, not right now, you know. So yeah, I was used to the quiet of working at home, working from home in a corporate environment all day, every day before homeschooling and before the pandemic really. So it's been that's where we are. We're in a spot of challenge. I don't know if it's fatigue. We've tried a lot of different things. So
I think the first year is usually the toughest because you're getting your feet wet, and it's not always homeschool is not always exactly what you think it will be like. And they're 8 and 5, right?
mhm.
Both girls.
Girls, yes.
Yeah, but
I have a
so
unicorn
you
over.
get in that groove, and it's not always what you think, and not that that's a bad thing, but also COVID year was that's what we call it now, COVID year. It was a rough year, and even seasoned homeschoolers like me had a rough year. Um, I'm coming into May, and we usually school year round, but I'm like feeling like I got to stop this year because it was just a rough year, and it's kind of carried over into 2021 a little bit, but
Yeah.
I don't think as bad as 20. But still, I mean, that right there causes fatigue. I'm like, and that's just reality for everybody. It's stressful. Some of the things, for those of y'all who have not done a homeschool house call, I have like an intake form, kind of try to give me a little bit of idea of what's going on. And one thing Helen wants to do is to establish routines instead of a schedule. And that usually works really, I mean, I think it works really well with littles. Also, because she works, she probably has a flow for work. I know for me, I use some time blocking. I get up early before my kids. My kids in the past slept 10 to 10, like 10 to 10 is pretty much what my teens still do. My 5-year-old is messing that up. She was doing 10 to 10. Now she's kind of messing it up because she wants to know where I am, and she doesn't go back to sleep because she ends up in my bed. You know that baby, how babies are.
Yes.
So she kind of wakes up and wants to know where, when I leave my bed, she's kind of wanting to know where I am. So that's kind of switching lately. So I'm not getting I was getting like a 3-hour block of work in the mornings, and I'm not getting that anymore. So even when you've had a routine, and seasons change. So so what kind of routine do y'all have now?
EAR.
What kind of looks like?
So, sorry, I'm gonna spell something for this one that's sitting by my desk right now. All right. So we've tried a number of different things. I try the early morning block, and the block schedule I think is what really is the only thing that works
Hmm.
really for working, especially with the expectation that I'm supposed to be available for 8 to 9 and
Yeah.
sometimes longer hours during the day. But then I just found that, pushing the days that we didn't get to things and we pushed it off till the evening,
Mhm.
it blew up. Like
Yeah, and
there
it gets
were
really hard to get back on track.
so hard. Yeah. So I think what works the best, and the thing is tying in a curriculum and trying to figure that out. So like we tried, I tried to block my schedule where I would get up like 5, so, and then work till about 8. And then we would do 8 to 9:30 I would spend with them. And then I would work for a couple of hours or be available for meetings for a couple of hours. And then at lunchtime at 11:30, 12, 11:30 was the time originally. I had about an hour devoted to lunch and math. Okay. And then I would work for the remainder of the afternoon after that. And then at like 4:30, 5 o'clock local time, which is 5:30 Eastern, that's, most of my colleagues are done and they don't have any more questions and all that, the people that work for me. Um, I can usually put the headset down at about 5:30, maybe 6 o'clock at the latest, typically. Um, then I would say, okay, anything that we didn't get to, we'll push it off to them to that time, right? 4:30 to 6 o'clock. I'm blessed. We have a 3 generational household, so my kids, me, and then my parents are in the same home, and my mom is the cooker. She's the home chef. My husband is an actual chef, but he's a numbers guy now. But yeah, so that's the basic. That's the only thing I can think of that really works for
Yeah.
us. And I think
Um,
I think we have to make it work.
One thing you might want to consider is outsourcing math. If I like, for mine, for those, COVID year changed my world a little bit. So outsourcing math is one thing I would probably do.
Mhm.
You could, I mean, either you could do is free, like Khan Academy. Let's see, let me think some ones I've seen.
Well, we were using
Happy Numbers is free right now. These are curriculums that can be used with school or can be used as math. But I would maybe find something where, I mean, outsourcing education is not my favorite, but I've realized that our kids they've grown up in an app world. And with my 5-year-old, I find that I am moving more toward at using what we have available for her, because
Mhm.
she looks at a notebook and goes, because when my other ones were little, they were like, I had workbooks all the time. Now we live in a world where there's apps everywhere. So math is one thing I might think about, just outsourcing that. That's something you can handle
Mhm.
and they can get done. And then, I mean, I still think we're doing with Lacey, we're doing games on the side because I want to catch if there's any problems. But I mean, lunch could be game time while you're doing, I mean, you could find, go through math skills. But I know some people use Khan Academy for math, and it seems to be, I mean, it's Common Core, but it seems to be pretty well-rounded. That's been out for probably 10 years. Happy
We
Numbers.
tried, yeah, we tried Khan Academy.
Yeah.
And I think my oldest doesn't really, she doesn't love the idea of sitting at a computer for
Yeah,
math.
she doesn't
She
like it. She
actually
likes,
doesn't love the idea of sitting at a
oh,
computer
that's
except
neat.
to do research or whatever. My youngest, though, from the minute she wakes up, can I watch a show? Can I
Yeah.
have my tablet? Like
Yeah, and I
she's
discovered
different.
a good one
Maybe
on Netflix this week. I think it was called Numberland, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're counting to 100 on the show, and my 5-year-old is watching it. I'm like, oh my gosh,
we
that's
have
weird.
a rule. We have a rule. And so let me just back up a little bit about kind of where we landed, how we landed here. We had I had a conversation with the local classical conversations people before this school year, this academic year started, and we had a couple of things that happened in our home that I said, look, I'd love to. I think it sounds great because it was that or virtual at the time, and so I was really leaning toward classical, but I had something, and then it was a little bit of a health challenge for me, and I couldn't do more. I couldn't do anything new. Like I needed
Yeah.
something that was good. And just so I said, we're just gonna try the virtual. Well, that lasted about the first 3 days without teachers, we did all right because I said, okay, what do they need to do? Okay, we do it, right? And then by the time the teachers got involved, it was pure chaos, right? And then I started thinking to myself in that it was horrendous. So there's tears by 8:30 in the morning every day for somebody. Everybody's crying. I was like, we can't do this. So, and then I thought to myself, well, why would I want my kids to do virtual? They enjoy watching TV. I
Mhm.
don't really want to school them in front of a computer because
Yeah, and
then
you want them to
they'll
have
never get
fun.
away from it. I thought,
Yeah.
no, we're going to do books. Like, I'm going to figure this
Mhm.
out. And so I did. I pieced things together. So we chose the original things that we chose were I found out about Gather Round,
Yeah, a
and
lot of people love that.
it seemed really great in the beginning, right? Then I found out there were some caveats to it because of the age of my youngest, right? She needed and she needed a little bit more instruction on just the ready to read kind of stuff, and I wasn't well versed in that, so I realized this is working for one but not the other, right? And then I picked Life Pack Math, the Alpha Omega Life Pack,
Mhm.
because it just seems so open and go. I thought, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't even have to look at the book. I just pick it up and talk them through the lesson, and then we're off and running. And if I have to supplement with my own knowledge, or, take them in the backyard and, show them something or whatever with pine cones, we can do that. Right. Um, so we did that. And then I kept on with Gather Round, and Gather Round had another piece that's called Ready to Read, which I liked. But for us, because we already had the math and I was already trying to do some biblical something with them, every
Yeah.
day, which I'm not great at, I'll be honest. Like, we do like different things. But anyway, it was like a full kindergarten curriculum. And it
Mhm.
was this huge fat book. And like I would flip through it, and we were only doing the phonics stuff, or the word
Yeah.
families, right? And then when we got finished with that, I said, you know what, we'll use it till it's done, and then we're just going to do something different. So I ended up, buying the white, the magnetic boards with the letters, and we did some word families and all that. And then for my oldest, I felt like Gather Round really wasn't expanding or applying her existing knowledge in language arts. So she's a technically would have been a second grader, but I liked what I saw with the language arts for living education from master books. So I put her in the third level because she's there. I mean, she probably
Yeah.
reads on like a fifth grade level or sixth or something. I don't know, but she was ready. And so I said, she needs a little more than what we're doing. So we were just doing Gather Round in math because they say that's all you need to do. But I just felt like something was lacking, and my little one wasn't getting the reading instruction, right? So we did that, and then made it through the holidays. In January, I said, you know what, we're going to do one of the continent units. So we did the European unit, which was great. We had all the maps and all the flags all over the house, and everything was great. Um, but when that came to an end, I had started doing a lot more research about, like, you know, feeling like I just took what was in front of me, and maybe I should now kind of look and see what else is out there, or some philosophies or whatever. So I've done a ton of reading, the Sarah Mackenzie Teaching from Rest, and Ainsley Arment, Wild and Free. And I went ahead and I invested in my library, and I just said, I'm going to read these books. I had one of the ladies from the Baldwin Homeschool page had actually given me a few books, which kind of started me. And I read, I have for the children's sake. Um,
Yeah.
and so I just started reading, and I love the flow and the feel of Charlotte Mason.
Mhm.
And because I encourage my kids to go outside. I mean, and her
Yeah.
philosophy is six
Go
hours out.
outside.
Trust me, they don't have any problem. But the problem for me is that it's completely unsupervised at times. Um, and so anyway, I was looking for, like, I'm trying to figure out how. I don't really necessarily want to buy a curriculum
Yeah.
and have to
Wanna
fit
have
it into
some.
our schedule, but, like, I want to do history because we did American history, a little mini unit, and it worked out really well. So I want to do like history, and I'd love to do art study or music study and poetry, but I've never figured out how to do all that stuff, or even plan a week of lessons by myself. It's always just been, okay, what does this book say and what does this one
Yeah.
say we're doing?
And the good thing is there's some free resources with Charlotte Mason. I know Ambleside Online.
Mhm.
When you go on their website, they have like, what's it called? I mean, they have, it's like all online. It has the links to like living history, and it's Charlotte Mason. So they call it Ambleside Online, and it's been free for years. You just go in, you go to the grade, click into the history, and they have stuff so you can get free resources, so you don't necessarily have to go buy a curriculum. And then if you like the stuff, I mean, you can always look for the books to have them on your shelf, because I like having stuff on my shelf for my kids.
Yeah.
But
And I found that so Gather Round had the mini unit of US history, and just to kind of go into
yeah,
that portion of it really quick. I found that I would read the lesson every day, and it was kind of I don't know, it was a little bit rhetorical, right? It was just a statement of what, somebody's perspective of history. And then there was a time when, like, I think it's the Beautiful Feet books. Is it Beautiful Feet?
yeah,
The Pocahontas, for one example. We read the book Pocahontas that's in the Beautiful Feet American history lineup or whatever. And I thought they really got more out of this than they did for me reading the past week of just factual, like,
yeah,
evidential historical blah, right? And
yeah.
so I'd love to be able to do that. And I really just don't
Just learning how to start.
know how to do it. I don't know how to do that.
I think
I mean,
what
I have a
you,
library card.
yeah, and that's a beautiful thing to have. Libraries are the best, homeschool mama's best friend. Um, you could look for, like, for history, I would maybe find a spine. Even if you're not using it for them, you can use it for you, and it kind of gives you a guideline of what topics to hit. Then I can't remember the name of it, but there is a I'll have to find it. I will find this book. But there used to be a book where it had a list for every grade, for almost every, like, US history. It would have a list for almost every subject, with just not history books, but fiction to read that went along with that time period. But I cannot remember the name of it. I used to have it on my shelf, but that would be a good resource to find, because then all you have to do is go and look and see, and it would go in their grade level. You pick the books. They even had picture books in there, but I'll try. I used to have it. I don't think I got rid of it, but I'll have to dig for it and find that name. And I mean, it just gives you suggestions for every history, whatever you're doing. And you can kind of do that for science too. This was just history, but I bet I could find some. I need to find the paper.
Yeah,
Write
science is
things
the other thing
down.
that we've not been able to get into, because I've been trying to cover the
It's
basics.
hard.
And then I said, you know what, we're going to do some history instead of the unit study. So what we did, just to kind of talk through the routine that we had, and I think it would work if I can just keep myself on track. But I found an article that said, that was about the a Bible verse, easy Bible verses for kids from every book of the Bible. And so I thought, well, what I will do is we'll use this list of Bible verses, and then every week we'll talk about a different book of the Bible and just kind of go through some of it.
Uh-huh.
I found this excellent resource from Bible something that's on YouTube, and they have these great overviews with, like, visual.
Mhm.
It's not like people; it's like illustration and just showing the whole everything. So then we do our Bible verse. Handwriting on Wednesdays was write your Bible verse, that kind of thing. So we did that, and then I was just reading the history lesson and then reading some of a book every morning. And, like, we started with devotion, and then we went into that, and then it was, all right, you're on your own until lunch and math. And then
Yeah.
in the afternoons, they were supposed to do their handwriting, which, both of them could really do by themselves. The little one
Yeah.
required a little bit of coaxing at times. Um, and so, I mean, it worked, but we just never got to anything that was, like, more than that. I think they've fizzled out. They're like, well, if all we ever do is math and handwriting, or math and English,
Yeah.
then what's the point, They
When
want
mine,
fun stuff.
yeah, when mine were little, I had a morning binder. And in the morning binder, it had their math, handwriting, and their whatever English they were doing for the day or whatever I wanted them to do that day. And this was stuff that they could easily do on their own. Now, I'll be honest, I had four and they were all 2 years apart. So it's like I was moving around the table all day when we did math. But I had easy stuff for them to pick up. So it could be worksheets, even if it's not their main math curriculum, it could be, just stuff. So they have their stuff, they can go pick it off, pick it up, work it. You could have on the table, I was suggesting to somebody having, for toddlers, they call it invitation to play. But Lacey is 5.5, and she still does these and still likes these. And even I've seen my 12-year-old do this, but I had these little, they're called sensory kits, and it had all these like ocean animals is the one thing we did. So we had all the ocean animals, and it has all this stuff to play with. And then I had a couple of books laying on the table that had to do with ocean animals. So that may be something science-wise, just something that they're old enough that they might not hurt themselves, but it could be something simple. It could be, things that I'll find some lists, and I'll post them in the YouTube video under there when I get lists for Helen so that y'all can see it. But
So I'd love to figure out like how, I guess I have to find the resources that resonate with me, that help me, because it's either it's either too much or too
I
little
know, and you want
it's
to
like
make it
feast or
simple.
famine.
Yeah, you want to make it simple because you've already got enough on your plate. You want it simple. I have really enjoyed, I have one woman that I buy the sensory kits from. We've got 3 now, and I have to tell myself not to buy them because they're just like little animals and little things just to play, and it comes with Play-Doh. When I sit it out, and I sit books to go out. I mean, not that the ocean animals are science, but I mean, we had one for Valentine's Day too that was like, nothing, not attached to anything. But I think it's a great idea, especially for littles, because it catches their attention. But if we could come up with some kind of science idea, something little that they could learn, that we're not worried that they're going to blow up the kitchen, because I had one that started looking through my stuff trying to figure out how to make a stink bomb one time. That was scary.
Oh my.
I was like, what are you doing? I gave her a book called The Daring Book for Girls. I think that's what the name of it, The Daring Book for Girls. And it had a stink bomb recipe. So she decided she was going to make it. And I was like, oh, this is good. It's a good thing my attention was not called anywhere. But it could be something as simple as tinkering. I mean, that's a type of science, like physical education. So that's something I will look for and see if I can find some links for that, because that would be something that at least gives them something.
Yeah, I guess what I find is that I can provide things for them.
Mhm.
And this is, you're going to be like, I can't help you with this, but it's literally like they want me there, and I cannot reproduce myself. I only have a limited amount of time. And so
Yeah,
I am
and
trying
that's
so hard to not burden them with like,
tons of
you
stuff.
know,
But I think the
yeah.
idea of like invitation to play, there's no expectations. I mean, and you just leave it there and not worry over it. It could be a game. You could have a game there. You can have stuff there. And then it's just, I mean, because, they've moved from one type of learning where the teacher was giving them everything to a different type of learning. And it takes time. I mean, it's not something that's going to happen quickly. I mean, it's just you have to offer them opportunities and not
Yeah.
stress when they don't pick it up right away. I mean, it can take time.
So tell me about that. I've heard this whole concept of like deschooling or unschooling,
Deschooling is,
right? And
yeah, deschooling is moving, really it's kind of like moving from it's like an adjustment phase. You're moving from one type of school to another. And I really think even if you were going from homeschooling to public school, you would still have an adjustment phase. Whoever they are, that's based on a book called Deschooling, written in the 70s, and the whole processes, and it was not written. It was not written by a homeschool person. It was written by an educator who they were talking about how public school needed to change. And so somebody somewhere picked up that term, and that's what they use. They're talking about an adjustment phase. Usually they say it takes 1 month per every year they've been in public school or private school. But a lot of times people will say, while you're doing it, don't do anything. And I don't know that that's always a good answer, because that doesn't fit for everybody. It does fit for some people. Some people need that. But I think sometimes when they're really young, they don't need that. But it's an adjustment phase. I mean, even when I had the baby, I was so stressed that almost like I reverted to traditional school, because suddenly my kids were doing a whole bunch of traditional textbooks. They had never done those. But we had adjustment issues. She was a fun baby. I was older. So that's what I gave them, and it worked for that year. It was probably not something I would do now. It was not, if when I look back, I think that's not what I want to do. But I was under stress, so that's what we did. But it's kind of just like an adjustment phase, and it's where anytime you hit a bump, you take a deep breath and say, okay, we're just adjusting. And usually I will tell parents when I was with deschooling, you know, take a deep breath. This is your time to connect. It's your time to heal if there was an issue. Like, so a lot of times I'll talk to families that have been bullied, the kids have been bullied, or there's major issues. And I'm like, this is your time to heal, find any diagnosis that you need to find, but you give yourself lots of grace to that it's okay, because until you find your groove, that you're doing okay, that so I think it looks different for everybody. And
Well, the reason I ask is because, I mean, I feel like that's what
that's
that's
probably what
where
you're
I'm at
dealing with.
right now. Like
Yes.
literally, there was a moment. So I needed a break from
Mm,
work, and I
yeah.
say, I have PTO and all that. And so I said, look, I'm gonna creatively create a break here. So I
Mhm.
squeezed in 2 days before a weekend and 1 day after, because I
Uh-huh.
had meetings on both ends of it. So I had 5 days. I said, guys, this is mommy's spring break. What do you guys want to do every day? And I was so excited, because I thought, well, I'll be able to like really be a homeschool mom, and I'll, be able to have fun. And they
Yeah.
didn't want anything to do with that. We went to the zoo, we went to the museum, and I'm
Oh
grateful for it. It was
no.
perfect. It was perfect. No, it was perfect, because it was
What you
it
needed.
connected them to the things that they want to learn about, right? And I
Yeah.
wish I could give that to them every day. I just cannot. And so that's a little bit of a struggle, but I think in those days, and this was just 2 weekends ago or whatever, um, I thought to myself, you know what? I don't think I'm going to push them. I think I'm just going to say, I'm just going to observe. That's what I'm going to do. I'm
And
going to
that's a lot
observe.
of it.
And because here's what happened. So that they were in a public school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my oldest had been to a private school and then to a public school. My youngest had been to a private school and then to a public school. And so anyway, school shut down in March, and I freaked out, because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what am I supposed to do now? Like, what in the world?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, summertime, right? So like they
Yeah.
get this long stretched out summer break, and
Yeah.
then they think their brains are still like
Still in that concept
still
that
in
we
the
haven't gone back to school.
kind of sorta at that point, right? And then I said, no, we're going to do homeschool. And I sat with them and talked to them a little bit. And then, since then, it's been not a revolving door. There's been consistency, but for me, I have not settled. And I think that's probably come through to them, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm looking at this trying to figure out, what does the long term look like, as opposed to just making it through a year. I don't want to just make it through a year. I want something that's
Succeed.
sustainable. I want to
Yeah.
succeed at this, because I think it's what's best for them. Like, I don't, especially my youngest, putting her in a chair all day and asking her to pay attention
Mhm.
is like, would be like taking the air out of my lungs and telling me when I was a kid that I couldn't play soccer, right? Like, that was my
Yeah.
thing. I played semi-pro, and like, you couldn't have taken it out of me, right? But that for her, it would be very difficult. But my oldest is still very like grades and on time, and I have these two personalities, right? And so I'm trying to figure out, like, what does this look for us long term? Not only that, the probably one of the biggest struggles, I believe, is that we literally have no support system. The closest thing I have is the Facebook group, and I ask all these random questions, and some people answer, some people don't, and I
Yeah.
love them all for answering. No, but at some point, I want to sit down and have coffee with somebody. But
Yeah.
I came into this, and we came into. I felt. I mean, I feel like I'm falling in love with it, to a certain extent, right? I don't want to let it go, but realizing that it was probably the worst time we could have been the first year homeschoolers, because the kids are like starved for social,
Yeah. And
everything.
everything shut down.
And I can't fix that, and so they're
Yeah.
still thinking we're going to go back to this environment
Mm-hmm.
when this is all over. That's in their brains. And I'm trying to figure out, how do we get from here to there and into a future that's not exactly what they think it is. And so I think that's why I said I'm going to pause, and I'm just going to
Yeah.
observe and see what they want to do every day and see what they gravitate
Yeah.
towards. I
And
got one,
pausing is okay. That's a good thing to do.
but
And
I
just
also don't want to lose. I'm terrified now.
you don't want to lose ground either. Yeah. I would do at least math and reading. That's what we do in the summer. Have always homeschooled year round. We'll do math and reading for fun is what I call it. In the summer, a lot of times I'll grab a school's summer reading list. Like the city I live in, Chickasaw, has an awesome one. They have fiction and nonfiction that are tied together. So I've usually grabbed whatever's on their grade level, and I grab that and say, okay, we're going to do reading for fun. Now, that's assigned reading, so how fun is that? But they usually do. They usually handle it pretty good.
Now, is that
But
independent, or is that like read aloud?
no, they just do independent reading. This is my older kids. Lacey
Okay.
would not be able to because she's not quite reading yet. But it could be read aloud too. I mean, you could do whatever.
We
And
started doing a read aloud challenge. That's basically all we haven't even done math in like over a week and
it's
a half or
okay.
something. I don't know.
You can add in games for math. I'm like, there's Right Start Math, which is a curriculum. They have a card game set that is like, it goes from, I think, kindergarten or first grade all the way up to, I think, sixth grade. But it has card games to play for all sorts of different stuff. And I've actually got it on my shelf for Lacey. She's not quite there yet. But I mean, add in some games. I mean, you can find math lots of different ways until you find a curriculum that you feel happy.
Mhm.
Um, One you might want to look at is Math UC. I don't know if you've looked at it.
I've heard. So the other thing I did that I didn't mention
Uh,
is that at first, when we had Gather Round, I thought, well, this is novel, but I'm not really sure it's substantial enough. So I
uh-huh.
did a little bit more research. This was like back in August or September, and I
Yeah.
ordered A Year of Sunlight.
Okay. So you have
Well,
some.
when I got that binder, I was like, how quickly can I ship this thing back to you? Because I was like, there's no way. I tried it for a week. I felt like I was a ping pong ball, like just a ping pong
It
ball.
is
I
a
was
lot of
sitting on this
reading.
and just
It's a
run.
lot of reading. Yeah, it's a
I
lot.
don't mind the reading. If it would just been like, all right, on Monday, this is what you do. But literally, I had to go from this age to that age, and what are they doing, and what is this?
Yeah.
It was not for me. Like,
I
the
like
literature
to
thing is fabulous, but the
I like to
other,
streamline as much as I can. I always did history and science together, no matter what anybody else was doing. They did history and science together. I even had two levels at one time where I had two, let's see, two high schoolers, two middle schoolers. They all had chemistry. So I figured that even if they were not the same textbook, at least the labs could be the same. And I hate labs. I will tell y'all, I may lose my homeschool mom card. I hate labs. I hate science. I hate experiments. Never liked them. I try to keep a good um a good attitude about them, but I'm not that mom. I'm the mom that throws markers and glitter away, okay, because they stress me out. So that's okay. I will
I
still
used to
do
be that way.
experiments. But the thing is I have big kids now. So they are actually starting to do experiments with Lacey, and I don't have to. I don't know what I would do. I'm like, it's not my thing. It was never my thing. I mean, I liked
I
science
had
as a
to
kid, but I never really liked experiments.
Yeah, so I wish I could do experiments with them. Like we tried to make fog the other day, just on a random weekend, because I was like, "Y'all get up! There's fog outside. Let's go see it." So we go in, and they're like, they're running through the fog, acting
I
like
love
they can't
nature
see each other.
study though. I love nature study.
Do you
And
have
I
a resource
try
that you like for it?
I actually have some stuff on the shelf and I'll send you pictures. I have a box of stuff and it's Charlotte Mason based. It has I would much rather go to the park and observe nature. And I tried to figure out a way to do it with my high schoolers, but they were not. I did it with when they were all little. We would go to the park, we paid attention to stuff. I mean, you can just pick anything, especially your kids' ages now. You could study clouds and do that for a week and find stuff from the library and pull it in. Right now, me and Lacey are doing not caterpillars, butterflies. We had caterpillars. They're now chrysalis and we watch them every day to see when they come out. So that's what we did right now. So I did do that. See, that's almost an experiment. Not quite, but I have done them, but it is not my strong suit and it is not something I happily do. But yeah, nature study would be a great one because you can include that in the park and include it outside. You buy magnifying glasses and measuring, little, at the Walmart, you can find in the sewing area these little round measuring tapes that they click and it rolls back up and they'll break it every time. So, by double, that's what happens with us. But I mean, I have nature study, I can get into that, but I'll send you pictures of those resources.
Hmm.
This, we had COVID in January and I still cough every afternoon. That's why I have this thing in my
Oh
mouth.
my,
I
what a
still
mess.
cough. I'm
Oh, we
fine.
have been so blessed.
I don't have it anymore, but I don't know. I still cough every afternoon. It's like
Ugh.
something irritates me. But
All
so
right,
excuse me eating the cough drop.
you're fine. So, all right, so I have this morning block,
Hmm.
and
I would do your most important stuff of the day, the stuff that you absolutely have to have done, and that would be math and language arts. If you want to do language arts with them together, this isn't Charlotte Mason, but I feel like it's very Charlotte Masonish. It's kind of considered classical. It was put out by Susan Wise Bauer and her mother,
I've heard
Jessie.
that.
Yeah. First language, let's see, first language lessons. I have an old one on my shelf, but the one I had was first and second grade together. It was two levels together, and you just went through it. This is an older book, and I'll take pictures of it and show it to you.
What would I
But
do if I have?
all you do is read it every day. In fact, I'll grab it and see and read one. Here it is. This is the one that I had this for Cole when he was little. I picked it up. I actually not even 100% sure they may still sell it, but all it is first and second grade, and all it is okay. So it's 2 years. You could do them together because listen, lesson one, instructor. This is what you read. Everything has a name. I will read the definition of a noun aloud to you 3 times. A noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. That's pretty much it. So I mean, very easy to do,
Okay,
and I mean, it's English, so I mean, it's covering grammar. It
would it
has
be?
poem memorization.
I wonder, because I still have to fit in some sort of reading or phonics for my littlest.
Yeah.
That's probably been
And
the
you would
biggest struggle.
do that. Yeah, you would do that in the morning too. I consider, I don't really start language arts until phonics is finished, but the little one can hear this and
Hmm.
it's not going to cause over an overwhelming amount of stress. So one thing I dislike about most language arts with homeschooling is because most of the time it is not, almost never in one subject. It's like you're buying this curriculum and this to cover all the parts. I don't like this. This seems to kind of combine everything. You still have to buy parts. I mean, you won't have spelling, but I wouldn't even worry about spelling with him. I would handle with him just phonics. The one I used when mine were little was American Language Series, and they even have a math. So it was like, that's all they have. And it took almost 2 years to go through the whole phonics set, but it was basically one lesson a day. I have not used that with Lacey, but because I was kind of burning out when I finished it. I went through 4 kids with it, and I wanted to burn the books when I finished. That's real mama talk. I mean, that's homeschool mamas. After you've done it 4 times, you want to burn the books. And so when I got pregnant with Lacey, I wanted to cry because I had to do phonics again. Nothing wrong with phonics. It was not that hard. It's just a little tedious. It's like you have to be consistent and you have to do it. And it's not fun like doing a read aloud. It's not the fun part of reading. It's the mechanics, and it is tedious, but you have to be consistent and you've got to go through it. And then you've got to be able to figure out, maybe they're not ready for this concept, and then back up. And that's what my oldest, I went through 4 curriculum before I realized just wasn't ready. I tried 4 different kinds until one clicked. And at that point I'm like, well, now I know he wasn't ready. He was just too young. I was trying too hard with him. But the first thing you do is teach letter recognition, sound recognition. When they have those down pat, then you pick up a phonics curriculum. So I'm assuming at 5 that
we
has that.
We had to I had to scrap it when we tried something. I can't remember what it was, and I was like, whoa, hold on, we're not there yet. So what I did was just create it. I went on like whatever that there was like
Teachers
a free,
Pay Teachers does that.
I don't know if
Then
it was that.
letter
It was
of the week. Letter of the week is free,
Easy
and it has
Peasy or
stuff.
something.
Easy Peasy is free.
It was some site I found there were worksheets every day, like worksheets for every letter, right?
Oh, that's nice.
And so I just printed them out and put them in a binder, and I said, look, you're going to write this letter. We're going to talk about this letter. It was like find the letter and all that. So we went through the whole alphabet, and she did her alphabet book. And then we started with the word families and the ready to read. And that worked out well. It's just, there was so much extra stuff that we didn't use. I thought, well, this is kind of a waste. Like all I need is just this one focus.
Curriculum's only a tool. And if it's too much, throw out what you don't need. And it's okay. Even though it seems like a waste, at least you're applying the tool correctly and not trying to do every little thing. Because a lot of times mamas will try to do every little thing and it's too much. So you pick what works and then move on. But yeah, she's doing word families. That's really good. I mean, she's doing good.
And then I picked up, like, I printed out a whole bunch of stuff that it was about what are all the different, what is phonics? And like, I don't know where I have it right now.
Phonics
like just a list of the
blending, how to blend them, what blends go in what order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it was like, okay, there's the it family and the ot family and the ug family and the family and the whatever. So I said, well, you know what? I could just check these off, and we'll just do them on the whiteboard with letters.
And you can. There's no reason not to.
We'll read like a Bob book.
Well, she's doing great then. For 5, that's doing great. Enough. No, but I mean,
I don't know.
Well, if she's able to read a Bob book, you just keep continuing on with that. I mean, you go through the blends. There's several different kinds. They've got, I can't remember their names right now. But I mean, there's no reason to. I'm not really a professional. Y'all know that, right? I don't remember names. I'm just a mom. But anyway, yeah, I would just keep going. I mean, if you got a good list, go through them.
We were on the pause. I feel like the next big hurdle is getting started again after this pause.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, I don't want to, and I know I hear this all the time. The homeschool moms say, well, don't be afraid to change directions. But I feel like that's a little frustrating for them. And I
Yeah.
want whatever we do to be something that I can see going forward. The other thing that I feel like I've said, what we're not going to stop schooling. And they really push back. Like I feel like I am having a hurdle with them. Like they're like, we don't want to do that. What I mean, my youngest was like pitching fits about I don't want to do school. And so I was like, what how do I don't
Yeah,
want
you
this to
kind of,
be like this.
yeah, I would do, I mean, get the important stuff done first thing in the morning. And sometimes you can be sneaky with school. I mean, pull out games. There's so much school, so much learning in games. You can pull out, I mean, I just picked up for Lacey, Miss Wordsmith has a game for phonics and it's called blah blah blah. And I just picked that one up for her because she's very resistant with what she calls paper school.
Hmm.
So I'm slipping school in with games. We're pulling out games every day. I mean, whether it's chess, which is, causes, that's logic. It's you have to move the pieces right. Um, then what else did we have? Sequence, anything that is you just, and there's a game school, there's a Facebook group called Game Schooling. And you can go in there and say, okay, I want to teach this concept, and they'll give you a whole list of games to go along with that concept, whether it's history, science, English, math, whatever it is. You can get a list of ideas. But I would do the most important stuff first thing in the morning, get it done in that first, because an hour and a half is more than enough for both of their ages. Get the important stuff, and then at lunch have games out, or do science, or I would do nature study. I like nature study for littles because they're curious about their world, and there's lots of learning just in the natural world, and that's very Charlotte Mason. That's what she did. So, and I'll send you pictures of everything I've got. And
Okay. Yeah, we try to take the go out for a nature walk every day, every morning. We didn't do this morning because it's kind of cool outside. We
it
got
was cold.
spoiled
No,
by the nice
it
weather.
wasn't cool. It was cold.
I hate to complain.
I freaked out.
I work with
I
people from
completely.
Ohio and everywhere else, so they're always making fun of me, like, "Oh, we can see the sun come through your window, Helen." And they're like in this gray, like gloomy
Yeah.
winter, like Pennsylvania and Ohio. It's crazy, but we're spoiled when it's 50 degrees. I'm like, go away now.
I had such a great week, and I love cold. I usually love cold, but it was a shock this morning when I went to get groceries. I was like, "What?
Yeah.
What? No!"
So, I mean, the language arts thing, I guess for reading, like I need to spend time with her, but I feel like my oldest, she does well with the language arts stuff on her own.
Yeah,
Um,
and if you
and the
have something
math
you like,
even.
yeah, if you have something that you like, then just let her continue doing what she's doing. But I would get it done first thing in the morning. The stuff that you absolutely like I was talking to a mom not long ago. The stuff that you absolutely don't want to not do, your most important stuff, get that done. And then science and history does not have to be done every day. When my kids were little, we did science like 3 days a week and history 2 days a week. So they don't have to be done every day. And then at lunch, you could hit one or the other. And then your basics are covered. And then if there's time to do extra or read alouds or something in the evening, or games in the evening, they're still learning there and they're still getting learning, but it just doesn't look like, it doesn't have to look like what the public school would have. They just
I
that's
recent
they're not, yeah, they're just not used to the change yet.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is because I want to tell them we're going to school year round, but I get pushback and then,
Then
you know,
just what I do with my kids, I give them math games, and you could give them math games and reading in the summer, and that it's still school. They're still
mhm.
learning. They just don't know that's what they're doing. And it
Yeah, I
takes
want to make
time.
sure. Yeah, I want to make sure that we
And
have
yeah,
time
and
for read alouds.
yeah, and I would, you could do that do it at lunch. You could do it in the evening. Just
What are
stretched out
some,
as your block, so your time blocks are covered. But I would
yeah,
do the most important stuff first thing in the morning,
okay.
whatever that is to you.
Okay. What are some ideas? Like I have this idea on the like afternoon block to do something like one of the days to do like listen to a podcast and
Hmm.
like do mindfulness coloring where it's like, it's coloring and just listening. Are there any other, I guess good activities that I could mix in on a weekly rotation that go along with that? Like, I don't know. I don't want to make them do the same thing every day, and I'm not
Um,
the most creative with that stuff. So,
you could do, I mean, books on tape. They can play with Legos with that. That is a type of science. To get another cough drop. Um, Podcast, yeah, that's something I'm going to try to pull in with Lacey. Something new.
well, I have to
There's
tell you about the one that we
lots
love.
of podcasts.
It's called the Purple Rocket Podcast.
You love it?
It's fabulous. We listened to the entire one about space when we were doing a space like study unit.
Hmm.
Best thing we ever did.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm shocked now. We still listen to it. Now they're going around the globe, and I'm like, okay,
I'm going to find that.
cool.
I found a list of 25 podcasts for kids. And I'll send you that link. I don't know where I put my pen. I'm very good about moving stuff. I was cleaning yesterday and I moved my pens. But I'll send you that podcast link. Um,
Maybe if we did got, maybe if I got the spent time with them and the subjects that matter the most, then the other stuff would feel even more special. Maybe I don't know.
yeah, probably. I would handle first thing in the morning, get, everything, because an hour and a half is plenty of time. Get everything major done. And then through the day, like lunch, I would definitely do something. I mean, you could do whether it's games or read. That could be your read aloud time. I mean, a lot of mamas will read while the kids are eating, or
Hmm.
listen to it on tape, and then you're all listening to it. Or it could be a podcast while they're eating, or just simply talking to each other. So I would add in games, and I would add in podcasts. They can color, they can do Legos. Play-Doh is good for their hands because they're still developing. Fine motor activities are good for their hands. Lacey, I actually stopped the actually someone lost her handwriting notebook. So we're doing fine motor skills until I can figure out where someone lost that. I don't know where it went.
Oh wow,
That's what happens in my house. There are
lost.
5 kids. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know where it went. I found it when I just moved her stuff out. I had her school in here and I moved it out. And that's the one thing that's missing.
Well, we put all of our school just in the bookcases in the living room because we're just a centralized, like we just go wherever.
That's how we are. I have a school closet. It was going to be a linen closet when they built the house. And I looked at it and said, no, that's my school closet because I can corral everything there and shut the door.
That's
But
nice.
I like it because, and everybody now I have enough students have graduated that everybody has a shelf that they keep that's just for their stuff for school. So it's nice to have it. Um, the other thing, I'm writing my list of things.
Nature study.
Yeah, nature study, invitation to play,
I'm
fine motor
lost
skills.
on math a little bit. I think my youngest would probably do okay with one of the video based math. I worry a lot about putting them in front of a computer,
Yeah,
um, the retention there because it's
yeah,
so
I know. And see,
momentary.
with Lacey, she is doing some app-based math right now. Happy Numbers is free right now, and it's well, I guess it could be a whole curriculum. I'm not. There are curriculums online. My big girls use teaching textbooks that starts at level 3, which is around third grade, but could be, a kid could be up or down. But it is an app, and they do fabulous. Lisi, I don't want to do everything. I have to pay attention because I want to make sure there's no holes. But
Right.
she's played Happy Numbers and she's liked it. Khan Academy has Khan Academy Kids, and that goes up to first grade. Then they have their up to 12th grade, and their stuff is pretty good. My older kids have used it off and on for extra, and they like it pretty good. It's just set up differently than most math curriculums that I've ever seen.
You said that you use the teaching textbooks
Yeah, they use
electronic.
they use the teaching textbooks online, and it's actually an app now. They just upgraded everything because let's see. What's it called? Flash drive went away. So they upgraded it. So now they actually have an app on their phones, because most of my kids have iPhones. And I think Androids, they have Android too. But what's nice is they can download like 5 lessons at a time. So even if they don't have Wi-Fi, they can still do their math. So they never escape from math again when we go out of the house. They never escape from math, because I'm like, they can do math while we're riding in the car.
So
But
is it all, I don't know, like I like to see that they know how to work things out, because I
and
always,
they do. I mean,
how I was taught.
my girls will have paper. I have not done it with Lisa yet, so I don't know how the younger levels are. But
Yeah.
I have heard really good things about it. So my older ones are like, my oldest is in pre-cal, but she has done fine with it. She usually carries paper if she's going to do it. So she's working the problem out. So it has the lesson, then it has the work there, but most of them will use paper to work it out and make sure that they're doing it correctly.
Our most important household member is speaking now. Can you hear him barking?
Yeah.
Trying to get my attention.
Like, please
Yeah.
pay attention to me. But when mine were little, I used Matthew C. And that may be one you want to look at. It's very streamlined. It was one that they could actually do on their own somewhat. It comes with a DVD where on Monday, we would watch the lesson together. And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we would do practice. And then on Friday, we did the test. They had lesson pages and they had review pages. So I would do like maybe 2 lesson pages a day, and then just one day. And then they do a review. And if they got everything right and I felt like they had the concept right, then we tested on Friday. If they were caught, then we would do the whole lesson again the next week. And they have like a worksheet generator online. So you can like generate a new worksheet, make a worksheet. So that worked really well. Now it's math, it's not spiral. Teaching textbooks is spiral. It's mastery, but it worked really well when they were little. It was very streamlined. It didn't have a lot of extra work. So it worked really well.
What do you feel like the benefit is to teaching textbooks? Because I've heard a lot of people mention it, and I'm now looking at like about the 3rd grade level stuff. So
the teaching textbooks, what I like, I moved from Matthew C to Saxon because the year we had the baby, for me, it was a bad year. My attention, she cried 24/7. It was a rough year. So the kids, I found an online co-op, and there was a live teacher that could teach them Saxon. So we switched to Saxon. That worked pretty well up until my oldest was hitting pre-cal. They didn't have that level, and she was not getting the Saxon level, trying to do it on her own. She just couldn't figure it out. Couldn't really find a tutor that was willing to help with pre-cal. And so I switched her to teaching textbooks. Well, she loved it. She loved the way it was explaining it. She loved how they had it set up. And so then we switched the other girls, and they have all loved it. So, I mean, I heard about it for years and wasn't going to try it. I was happy with what we did, but it worked. Saxon worked until it didn't work anymore. So I think everybody's different. I think what I like about this one, and we did online, we never did the textbooks. I never ordered anything. We were online when we started because it's only been about a year and a half. And the girls like the way they explain it. They like the fact that when they get a test answer wrong, they can click on it. It takes them back to wherever it is that they missed, even though it doesn't let them retake that question, but it will take them back to where they missed it. And they like that they can get there. They like math. So they takes them back to where they missed, and they can go through and reread that part of the lesson or re-listen to that part of the lesson. So it's worked for them. Now I don't know that it would work for everybody, but they like it. We're happy with it.
Cool. All right.
It's also good that they give a 15 lesson. Not, I always keep saying 2 weeks. It's not 15 lesson free trial. So, and I do not get any kickbacks. If anybody watches this video later, I don't get kickbacks from teaching textbooks. I wish they would contact me. I love them, but I paid for that. So go find their free trial. It's a big.
Yeah, that was just me asking because I was curious.
No, but that's what happens if I'm saying it. They're gonna go, "Oh, she must get a kickback from." I said, "No, I am not
that's
sponsored by anybody."
That's funny.
Anybody but me.
All right.
Yeah, but I like it.
Yeah. As with anything, the questions just never seem to end for me. And I mean, I could do this all day because I have so many questions. Like I said, I mean, I'm trying to read books. I'm really just trying to figure out what what the best flow is, and
yeah,
really,
and that can be trial and error. I mean, that's sometimes trial and error finding. I mean, and you'll see a homeschool mama who has a good flow. She's probably done it for years, and even then, you'll have a good flow until something doesn't work. It's like we did not teaching it. We did Matthew C for years until it didn't work anymore. Then we did Saxon for several years until it didn't work anymore. And so now we're on teaching textbooks. Well, I mean, it may come up 5 years from now that it's not a good fit for us anymore. And then we just switch and we find something. So everybody's flow will change with seasons. Because you'll get your flow down pat, and then you'll hit middle school and you'll go,
yeah,
you'll go,
I already think about that.
This flow is not working anymore. Or you'll hit high school and go, this isn't working anymore. What do I do?
But I've also thought seriously about doing a CC community at Classical Conversations. I don't know if you can speak to that at all. I mean, I don't want it to be more than I can.
I have not done those. I have a lot of mamas I know who are either leadership or they're in it. Some love it, some hate it. There's no right or wrong. I mean, you can go to their open houses and you can see how they do it and what they have, and just I know that I don't know how they set it up, but I know with co-ops they're hard. For me, people love them, people hate them. I find co-ops stressful. Usually because I had last time I was involved in one, I had 4 small littles and they expected me to work. So that's very stressful. So I don't know how CC is set up, but there's nothing wrong with finding out.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought, well, maybe that would be a great place to have
it may be. And it's good to have support.
Just one day a week, right? Like,
yes, one day.
We don't have to completely convert our whole life to classical and all that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they have to do that.
It seems like every other co-op is like not taking anybody, and I can't even experience it or see.
It's really like a COVID year thing. It's hard to get into co-ops right now, and most of them will be closed until fall. I know you're in Baldwin County. I'm over in Mobile, and I know that they have Heartwood is just opening up for their next, like, showing people what they're going to have. So they're open. Baldwin County is a little bit harder because they don't have as many. So hopefully, I think I heard that Navigators is going to be open back up by next fall. And that's in Daphne, I think. Is Navigators in Daphne?
I think it's like Gulf
There's one in
Shores or
Eastern, there's the
Foley.
Eastern Shore. I think it's
I
East
don't know.
over in that stretch. So
I have no clue.
that long
I just
stretch of highway.
we need some
Yeah, you need some people.
I need to feel like we have a community, because right now I still
Yeah,
feel like we are on an
yeah.
absolute island.
And
And
that's just COVID year because it's been a hard year. Most everything shut down, and I tell mamas all the time, don't judge anything by COVID year because it was not that way. Baldwin County is a little bit slower. It's more rural, rural, not urban. That word wasn't coming out right.
suburban.
It's a suburb. It's more suburbish, but
Yeah.
it should be opening back up, I think, by the fall, is what I think.
So maybe, maybe we'll, with a good routine and
A
flow,
good
maybe
routine and
next
finding
year.
some things. Um, Erin's Gulf Coast Adventures, that she goes all over the place, and that's a good place to start, at least this time of year.
Okay. Do
That's
they
a
do that in
good.
the summer too?
She goes almost all year round. Yeah, she does, and
Does she
she'll
have a
say
pretty like
she
core group?
she has a lot of people. I don't know how core. I'm in there, but I never get to anything. Don't ever judge anything off me. I have part days on Tuesdays, but that's in Mobile. But that's because my big girls are at piano. But yeah, we've got to work on more part days. I think people are needing them. People are needing to get out.
Yeah.
And I'm not
Yeah.
against
And
coming to Baldwin County and making a part day, as long as I know somebody's going to show up.
yeah. Yeah, because we'll go around on the weekends, but on the weekends I just never know what the mix of people is, and
You
I'm a
don't
little
know.
particular still right now, and so you
Yeah.
know if I can make something happen on a weekday, we'll do it. But like when it comes to anything public, like museums or zoos, we try not to do it on the
Do it.
weekends,
Yeah. I know. I
just
don't.
because we just really
I
don't know
would.
who's gonna.
Yeah. I would do. Yeah. I would get connected with Erin, at least for right now, because she does a lot of virtual. She does a lot of in person. So she has
Mhm.
a good mix for everybody. And she does at least three field trips a month, at least three, usually way more.
Well, I've looked at it, but I've just been so hesitant because I don't know anybody, so it's like going into like a brand new everything.
Yeah,
All of our friends.
and it's hard. It's hard to switch and to find friends and to find people that you can always say, "Hey, Devin, I'm going here. Show up, and I'll try my best." I
Please
go,
be
"Ooh,
there.
what can I do?"
Well, we have a pretty decent, amount of friends just in the area, but and we had a nice little core group that said we're going to do virtual, and I said great, we have a pool, they can come do virtual at our house, and they can swim in the afternoon, and then within like a week they abandoned ship and were
Oh,
back in the brick and mortar, and I was
oh
like,
no.
okay, we're done here.
Okay, this is
We're
so
going a
sad.
different route. So yeah,
Yeah,
we lost everything, and
we
our
just
kids
have to
like,
work on getting you a group. And that's made COVID year has made things harder. I mean, park days are good. As long as you go somewhere consistently, you can begin to build.
well, we love Five Rivers. As a matter of fact, yesterday, because
That's
I
a
didn't
good
have,
place. See, that's halfway between I could come to Five Rivers.
well, we love it. So we went there yesterday afternoon. I just grabbed up my computer and my notebook, and I said, get in the car. We're going outside. And
Mhm.
so I sat at the bench table and worked all afternoon and had multiple
Oh,
meetings, and they were just playing in the great grass and the trees and everything. And then
oh,
I always let them see that we have to go see our snake friends. So that's like our favorite, and no idea
that's a
like
good
who to
place.
invite
Yeah,
to
that's a
go
good
with us.
place. You can invite me. I have a 5-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll work on that. We'll work on.
That would be helpful. Yeah, just because we had one family, I think the mom is maybe she's having, I think she had to have back surgery or something, and but we actually did Five Rivers because it's nice, wide open. If you go inside, you have to wear a mask, but
Yeah,
but it's
outside,
fabulous.
pretty relaxed. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, that's not far from me. That's about maybe 15, 20 minutes. Because
Oh
I'm in
wow,
North Mobile. It only takes me
closer.
maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, we're down in South Fairhope, so we're a little bit further away.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I appreciate everything. There, like I said, I mean, I could go on and on and on. I don't want to
And
take
we
all
can
your
do this
time.
again. Yeah, I have another meeting later today. So, but I mean, we can meet again, and I'm gonna send you a list of what I see, and we can do this again and recap anytime.
Any history like core that you might recommend would be great too, because
I'm
I
gonna
really
look
don't
for
know.
that. I'm glad you said that. I'm gonna look for that history book that has the read alouds
Hmm.
and see where if I can find my copy. Um,
And I don't know if first language lessons,
I
it
would,
seems like a
yeah,
good concept, but I'm not sure if mine are
yeah. It
not
may
too
not,
far
yeah.
apart
It,
right now for that.
yeah. Well, with the younger one, I would only do phonics. Yeah, I would only worry about phonics. For the older one, if what's working is working, then that's fine. But I mean, I'll send you a picture of this too because it may be one you want to look at later. I just like how gentle it is. And I used to have a morning basket, and I'm like, this would fit in a read aloud easy because it's just
Hmm.
real simple and it's not like it's just very gentle. So and it's going over everything. They do a lot of narration, a lot of poetry, memorization, stuff like that. So
That's good. I don't know how to even approach that, so that would be
I
really
think
good.
I think it's a nice one to have on the shelf. It's what I will probably pick up. We used the Good and Beautiful for years. I'm not 100% sure I will go back to that. My older girls loved it. I was not a fan of the kindergarten level.
Really.
I don't feel like it's set up the same way. The
It
levels,
seems like things change from kindergarten to first grade. Like it becomes more
yeah,
normalized. I don't know what it is,
yeah,
but
I think that's what it is. It's like level 1 through what was it, 8? Well, 7 are very similar and very organized. It's like lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, and everything's there. Whereas the kindergarten was not like that, and the high school was not like that. And I was not a fan of those. I liked having everything laid out so I could open it. I knew what they were supposed to do. We could do it and then go on with our day. But with the high school, it's like I had to come up with a schedule. And the kindergarten, it was a little bit too different. So
on the history thing, I have like a list in my phone that I'm keeping of like I find this and I think I really want to do that. I'm sorry to go back, but if you had any insight on the story of the world, I've heard that like kind of start
Story of
with
the
the first
World,
one,
I used that
go through the
one.
second.
Yeah, I used that one when I first started out. That's probably what I'm going back to with Lacey. I like it. And I'll tell you, this is a mama of having many kids. It had an audio. I loved it because gave me one thing that I could pop in the car when we went somewhere and listen to over again. We would listen to the same lessons over again. Like, and so when you have a lot, you don't always have time to read everything. So it was something you could pop in and listen to, or I could read it and then we have coloring pages to go with it. So yeah, I like Story of the World.
It would be
Another
good
one,
for the two ages too, just to kind of do it together.
yes, I would combine history and science with both of them.
Okay.
For a wise friend of mine always said, teach up. So take the kindergartner, put the kindergartner goes up with the 8-year-old. So you always teach up. And history and
Okay.
science are two things that are very easy to do that with. Math and language arts, you can't. But those, I always would combine those. I wouldn't do separate because it's just not using your time wisely. So
Yeah. Awesome.
the flip side is this is I did that with most of mine, and my second child was almost ready to graduate the same year as her brother. I wasn't, I didn't realize that would happen. She had almost the same amount of credits as my son. And if I had pushed her, she could have graduated with him. But she was only 15. So I didn't. It's like, no, this isn't wise. But she could have. She's a brilliant kid. But we waited 2 more years and she has way too many credits probably will not put all of them on her transcript. There's just
Wow. That's a really cool
yeah, but I mean that's
problem to
just
have.
because we put them all together and they were together, and then the other two have been together, and that will probably happen with my next two. They will probably be ready to graduate at almost the same time. Maybe a year difference probably, because I've been a little bit slower to do that with them because I realized how fast. I mean, because suddenly I'm looking and I'm going through and checking things off, and I'm like, oh my God, all she needs is like 4 credits, 4 things. And I'm like, I could push her and get her through there, but I decided not to.
Well, I think I was the high school student with too many credits, and I like just had to stay there the extra time because they didn't allow that. And also because I needed to play soccer like for the next year. So I had to stay in school. I just had too many.
But she took pre-cal and she does. I looked at her and said, "You don't need that. You have 4 maths already." And she's like, "But I want to finish it out." I'm like, okay.
Girl, I was that. I was the math
Yeah,
team,
that's
I was
what
like,
she
give it to
was.
me, do it. So,
Yeah, that is how
yeah.
she is. This year she had her only subjects have been pre-cal. Um, her history she had to have. That was the only one she had to have. And then she's done ACT prep. That's pretty much been her year. And piano, guitar. That's pretty
Well,
much all she's had.
I'll keep you in business because when it comes to middle school and high school, I don't know how we're gonna
It's
fare
so
around
you
here,
know,
but
it's so much. I my biggest advice for middle school: lots of laughter, lots of connection, mama dates. One of the best things I ever invented was mama dates, where I take one kid off and we're alone together. Because I mean, I have 5.
oh wow,
So that's
yeah.
been one of the best things I did, especially for middle school, high school. And
How often do you do that?
I try at least twice a year. There's 5 of them that
Hmm.
stretches out, but I try at least twice a year and one kid a month. But just time I mean, we go and we'll go to a restaurant, we'll go shopping. Not as much with COVID. We kind of tailored it down a little bit with COVID, but that was one of the best things I ever did. And just make sure there's lots of laughter. And that it just laughter seems to diffuse most problems. I'm like,
That's
you
true.
got the 14-year-old boy getting ready to yell at you, finding ways to laugh. It kind of just diffuses the situation. Like today, he's making me listen. He's 19 now. He was making me listen to something that he thought was really funny. And so I'm sitting there as music, and he made me listen to 2 songs. And it's like one was what is the name of that song? It's like the Rhythmics. Sweet dreams are made of these, or you know what I'm talking about, that song with the cow.
Yeah.
Video had the cows. So he made me listen to that when he goes, have you ever heard this song? I'm like, yeah, I know this song. This is my childhood. Then he made me hear this other one that somebody's made off of it, but it like sounded like the 90s. So I was like, this is like total 90s grunge. So then he's laughing all over the place because mom is funny because she's critiquing the music. So just find ways to laugh. But I
It
think
seems to
I
deal
think
with
you're doing a
most of it.
great job. I do
Well,
think you're
thank
doing
you.
a great job.
We there's little brilliant moments. There's not, there's no denying
Probably
that,
a
but
lot more brilliant moments than what you realize. And I
well,
think just if you just give it time, they'll start to adjust and it'll get better.
all right. Well, I'm gonna try not to let this pause last a whole lot longer, but it's gonna take some courage.
You know what? Sometimes I would school year round, and we would take a month at spring break and we would take a month at Christmas. Really a little bit more than a month at Christmas. We'd go from Thanksgiving to the beginning of
New
January
Year's.
because there was just too much going on and too many family stuff. And
Yeah.
I just took off and we had a great time and cleaned and cooked and baked and
Well, for more than them, I mean, even though I was getting the reaction I was getting, I mean, I think, I've tried to keep up the schedule, and it's like a rat race for me. So I needed a break too,
You have to
probably.
do a break. Yeah. And you have to. And just remember, COVID year was an awful year. And sometimes it just takes time.
Yeah.
But I will send you this resource and let me know. We can always meet up again anytime. And next time you want
Okay.
to go to Five Rivers, give me a heads up and see if I can come.
Yes.
Especially toward the end of the week. Beginning of the week, I'm
Okay.
really, really busy, but toward the end of the week, I'll probably say, oh, yeah, let's go.
Well, I have different weeks of the month that I'm busy, so it
Yeah,
all
just let me
depends,
know.
but
Give me a heads up and see if we can work it out.
I will. Well, I really appreciate your time so
Well,
much.
I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it. You're
I hope my
welcome.
questions were too
No, you had great
sporadic.
questions. Okay, everybody, we're going to say goodbye. We're going to turn off this recording because I could do that all day and I'd forget it was there.